Well, good morning, guys. Thorzax here, and I hope you guys had a pretty good week so far. Coffee. Good old-fashioned Colombian. Oh, Seattle, the coffee capital of the world, but you know what? Sometimes you just want some regular coffee, you know? There's lots of different coffee shops here. There's coffee shops all over the place. But, you know, you can get anything you want in the way of coffee in Seattle, in the Seattle area. But sometimes you just want a regular cup of coffee. Anyway, a few things I wanted to go through was Nick Ross. Nick Ross has sent me some prototypes, and these products should be available here pretty soon on the Reloaders Network. As far as pricing for these products, now, like I told you guys before, that's James' department. You know, James is the guy who's going to put the pen to paper and figure out what it is. I know one thing, we've gotten funding together in order to make these. So, you know, that's all part of it. Okay? So anyway, first things first. He sent me two prototypes. These are the dual pin. As you can see, there's two pins down in there. You know, opposed to the single pin BPI. You don't want to buy the single pin BPI. It works, but it doesn't do such a fine job as these do. These, when they roll crimp, they turn out perfect. There's two separate angles here that he went and cut, and he wanted me to try them and see how the taper is on the end for feeding and that sort of thing. And both of these do work. However, he's going to experiment a little bit more with the angle that the pins are put in, and he's going to mess around with that. So he sent me these two, and I'm telling you right now, he really does make a superior product. Okay, as far as the skiver and the hole conditioner, these are the BPI unit ones that you buy through BPI. Okay, they work. I'll just tell you right now, they do work. So I'm not trying to say that you're getting an advantage, you know, in buying one over the other. I mean, it's basically up to you. But I will say this much: one thing Nick did take into consideration, and that is size. I mean, these right here, by no doubt, are easier to use than these. It's just a sheer size thing. And also, he also cuts his diamonds a little sharper than the one that's on the BPI. He uses a wider pattern, and it does a much better job. And the skiver, the hole conditioner works great. So let's reflect back on the last video where we were firing the Zveroboy slug. Now I got a lot of I got a lot of feedback on that from a lot of different folks, and I want to let you know that first of all, the wad is one of the keys for good accuracy with these projectiles. And the reason why that is because you get tail wad stabilization. Now, I may be getting into the whole thing about rifle versus smoothbore, tail wad stabilization, spins, stabilization. There's some things to take into consideration there, especially when you're firing at 100 yards. Now, I fired these at 50 yards, and they cut holes in each other. You can go ahead and you can look at one of Cookie's videos way back. I gave him some of these. I just gave them here. Shoot them. Tell me what you think of them. I mean, at 50 yards, he was cutting holes as well. I mean, these are very accurate out to 50 yards. But to me, the whole test that we're trying to do here is get range. That's what I want. I want range. And, boy, I'll tell you what, I was watching a video lately, and a guy was going into the whole thing about why we don't sight in at 25 yards. Because once you get it sighted in at 25 yards, usually they all go right through the same hole. It's pretty simple. With a rifle, you've got that sight distance, in between the sights, or if you're using a scope, it really is. It's not really to me, it's not really. I want to keep this is my opinion. To me, it's not really a fair evaluation if all you're doing is shooting at 75 feet. When you're shooting rifle type ammunition, you want to get out there. You actually want to measure groups. You have to shoot at distance. What may not take place in the short flight from 0 to 75 feet. It didn't make any difference at all. Went right through the same hole. But by the time it gets out there at 50 yards or 75 yards or 100 yards, you're starting to look at spin, destabilization. You're looking at the projectile slowing down, more wind resistance. There's lots of different factors there. And that's what's going to make it or break whether or not it's an accurate round. To me, accuracy should be at least at 100 yards for a rifle, or even these shotgun slugs. They should shoot accurately out to 100 yards. And you know what? People wrote back and said, hey, that wasn't too bad. You shot that second target there, and, that wasn't too bad. That pretty good for a shotgun. It is pretty good for a shotgun, but you know what? These can do better. I know that. I'm telling you what. The hydrant slug, I put 4 shots through the same hole at 100 yards with this. And everything has to do with this wad. And you know what? This didn't, this, according to the literature, this doesn't need spin stabilization. But the spin stabilization didn't bother at all. I mean, it still shot excellent. So we already know what the hydrant will do. Okay, we already know that this is kind of a benchmark. By way of comparison, a lot of guys go out and buy, say, like the Walmart 15-pack of the 1-ounce slugs, the Winchester or the Federal slugs, and they go out and they fire them. And yeah, they do shoot pretty accurately out to about 100 yards. But I'm going to tell you what, this, right off the bat, without me even trying, the Zveroboy hydrant slug is, in my opinion, a more accurate round than you can buy out there. You make these. Now you can get the Galandi, which I just happen to have one. This is the Galandi unit product. And you can get the Galandi, but these right here cost about $1.25 a piece. And, I can make these, I can make these all day long. I mean, you're probably looking at maybe 15 cents. So, there you go. I mean, wads, as I was saying earlier, these right here. Now, the brush wad that BPI sells, okay, is the same lower section as the Super Spark. This is a 7/8 ounce Super Spark skeet wad, and that now we're talking 7/8 of an ounce is what the payload is that this is supposed to compress and shoot and blah blah blah, and we're going way beyond that. We're going all the way up to about 1.5 ounces or an ounce or so, 1.75 ounces of a load, and trying to get performance with this wad. So maybe the plastic that the wad is made out of, maybe it's made out of a different, composition or whatever, and it's just not working out. Another thing too, the attachment screw that runs down into the slug itself. I avoided getting a longer screw because I didn't want to put a screw so far down in there with a tip in there that once this compresses, that tip will go through the bottom of the gas seal. I don't want gas to get up in here. That's another thing I wanted to talk about, gas seals. The gas seal that's on this, if you guys can see, has a taper. Okay, it's wider, and it's wider than actually the bearing surface here and here. And these bearing surfaces here match that's on the slug. This right here expands quite a bit. It gives a very good gas seal from the muzzle. This right here, it's just flat. So, you know, I mean, when I picked up this off the range, this is the one that I picked up off the range. If you look at the bottom of that edge, you can see that there's pieces of the edge that has came off, that blew out. It literally blew the seal apart when it left the muzzle, and you can't have that when it leaves the muzzle. It has to be a flat, even surface. You can't have any of this, like right there. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Maybe I can get a different angle here. Yeah, right here. You see how that's all chewed away here? That's all blown out. Okay, when that leaves the muzzle, okay, the gas is going to escape through there. And what that does is it causes a blast to happen on this side when this side is still sealed as it's leaving the muzzle. So you're having gas escape, and then what you have is you have the possibility, actually a very good possibility, 99.9% possibility, that this slug has already lost its accuracy, because it is not leaving the muzzle straight and true because of that blast. Maybe at 25 yards you wouldn't notice a difference, but at 50 you'd see that one there probably wouldn't have grouped with the other ones if you did get accurate shots. At 100 yards, hey, it's a crapshoot on whether or not you're even going to hit the black. So there you go. I did do one thing. I bought some other ones. I think these are, I can't remember the name of these wads, but they're very soft. You know, these have really soft compression zones. And what I did is I adapted the, you know, fragmentation slug to this wad because this gas seal has a little more rubberiness to it. And also I was going to fire this in a 2.5 inch shell as a mini, and only use like 27 grains, 28 grains of long shot, and strictly only having a 50-yard range to it. You know, that way you can load it up in a security shotgun, and then you've got, you know, you got the extended magazine, and you got a whole bunch of these, you know, stacked up in there, and you're ready to go. So I covered the skiver and the conditioner, gave the comparison, showed you the prototypes. These are the prototypes. Told you about the funding. We went into the hydrant slug, and we also went and covered the last video, and trying to see if I forgot anything. Oh yeah, wads. I wanted to talk a little bit more about wads. This is your figure 8 wad. The figure 8 wad is a Remington design. Most of your Remington, you know, ammunition is loaded with a figure 8 wad. This is for 1 1/8 of an ounce of shot. This here is what they call a light Winchester 1 1/8 shot wad, and it's actually made for 1 ounce to 1 1/8 ounce. The pedals on this, though, are very thin, and it gives better performance as far as, you know, trap shooting. It allows the pedals are thinner, and they open up and they separate, and the shot is on its way as a swarm a little bit sooner than this wad. Or this is your standard 118 Winchester wad. And so anyway, back in the day, what we were trying to do, and you've seen Cookie's video, we were trying to take these Lee, you know, key drive slugs, and we were trying to make them shoot with these inferior wads. And the main thing is that you've got your crush zone in here. You know, it has to crush exactly the same way, and this has to seal against, you know, the back of it, and has to leave the muzzle square. And you know, it was asking too much for a shot, you know, wad to do as far as a job to do. So many guys tried many different types of wads with no success, and the same thing with the pellet, you know, the pellet load. Many different, you know, combinations have been tried, and they were only able to get a certain degree of accuracy. So that's one reason why the Zveroboy slugs are so great, because they are performing at distances that we never even dreamed of before with these other slugs. So anyway, that's what I'm excited about. So anyway, if you're interested, I don't know when these will be available on the Reloaders Network. I know that they're getting made. These right here are in development right now. These are the prototypes. Like I said, with Nick Ross's products, the Nick Ross manufacturing that he's doing, I think he's doing a superior job to anything you're going to be able to buy from BPI. So, anyway, that's about all I got. And that brings me to another subject. With the Zveroboy, until I get wads from Zveroboy, I'm going to go ahead and buy the actual wads that he sells, and then attach them, and then go out and shoot those at 100 and see how those work, and compare those to these. I'm also going to stop at Lowe's one of these days when I'm downtown, or go to Home Depot and try to get some longer screws. But I want to watch how long it protrudes down through here, because like I said, I don't want it to puncture the gas seal. When it's fired and it flattens out, that sharp edge isn't going to go through the gas seal. I don't want that. Yeah, that's about it, guys. That's about all I got. So, but until I get the new wads and that sort of thing, I'm going to kind of just go ahead and shelf it for right now. I've been using strictly, long shot powder. Max Bear, he has actually been using Blue Dot with really good success. And also, Cookie has been using Unique, so and he's been using Blue Dot. So there's powders available, and there's some reloading data that's available. But remember now, this reloading data has been taken from very experienced guys that have reloaded slugs for a long time, so they know what works. And like with all what you hear or what you see on the internet, take it with a grain of salt. Don't attempt it if you don't understand it. Get yourself a manual. Read yourself a manual. Read yourself some books. The Lyman book is a real good book to read, fully understand what it is, because when it comes to shotguns, it's all about the payload. You're shooting the payload. How much pressure you're putting on the gun to shoot the payload, and you're staying within about 10,000 psi, which isn't a lot. So there you go. And we'll probably be doing some more work with later on with this. I still need to cast some of these up. I casted some of these up a while back, and they've been sitting around because I've been doing this. And to tell you the truth, I'm getting to the point where I want to move on to something else, maybe do some pistol or some rifle. So, bear with me. So that's what I got planned. That's about all I got, guys. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. I know this is one of those boring, videos where I just talk and have my coffee. And I just want to tell you what's going on, some of my thoughts. And that's about it. So until next time.